Welcome back to Power Play. I'm Tom Clark. I am here with Ann Coulter of everything. If you've ever watched American politics, you know who Ann Coulter is. Let me start with this. Today was a very historic day, one way or another, in the United States. President Obama signed the health care reform into law. Here's what I don't get about the American right. This bill is here forever. It's not going away.
I wouldn't count on it.
Well, but how many bills have been rescinded in the United States? This is a big one. It took a long time for it to get here. And what I don't understand about the conservative movement in the States is this was coming down the tracks, and yet the right basically stood back and simply said no, rather than trying to shape a bill that is going to be there forever. Was that smart?
That is not how I would describe what happened at all. Democrats wanted to socialize health care. By the way, elected Republicans, probably like the Conservative Party you're describing here in Canada, was ready to sign up and compromise and, oh, we'll just cross a few T's, dot a few I's here, and we're right in with the socialized health care. And Americans said no. Americans said no in a big way. 59% of the country is not just opposed, is hopping mad, wants to go to Washington and pull the power, beat the members of Congress and deport them if possible. That's the country responding. That isn't the Republican Party. The Republican Party were Johnny-come-latelys to this party.
Yeah, but surely you're not suggesting that after the Obama presidency, whenever that is, that a new Republican president is going to reach back into the past and undo that bill, do you?
Oh, yes, I am. And yes, bills have been overturned. One that created far less of an uproar that this one has was the ban on assault weapons, as people who know nothing about guns call semi-automatics that look scary. And that is widely, by everyone, attributed to the historic loss of the House by the Democratic Party in the 1994 election, and you bet that was repealed right away.
I can't remember, though, a moment that was so more divisive in the recent history of the United States as this health care legislation. I mean, you had the Tea Partiers, and you had the demonstrations, the calling out on Capitol Hill. Everything was going on.
It's an astonishing thing that has just happened. The Democratic Party absolutely went against the will of the American people, and I would not call this the last word.
All right, but where are the Republicans right now? Because there is no obvious leader to the right in the United States right now, outside of perhaps Rush Limbaugh, yourself, and Glenn Beck. There seems to be a split within the party. The radicals have become Tea Partiers. You've got David Frum on the other side, who's more moderate. What's happening?
There isn't much of a split, and by the way, you can take David Frum back, but it's David Frum versus everyone else, including, as I say, 59% of the American people. I mean, the reaction, Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic Speaker of the House, the day after they jammed this bill through, dangling ambassadorships in front of the Democrats, her public approval went down to 11%. Harry Reid, leader of the Senate, went down to 9%. There are bricks being thrown. The Democratic Party headquarters in the heart of the Democratic Party, Manhattan. The American people don't want this, so they can jam it through, use Chicago tactics. It isn't going to be the last word. When and how and whether it's going to take a new president or it's going to take a new Congress, this isn't the last word.
Let me ask you about the tone of the debate, because I think that one thing that you do is that you set a tone for political discourse in the United States.
I call the tone question the co-ed question.
The tone question, the co-ed question? Well, I don't know what you mean by the co-ed question, but let's just stick with tone.
There's usually a girl on the college campus who will stand up and say, I see your point, and you have some good ideas, but why do you have to say it that way?
Well, okay, I'm not going to quite ask it that way, but I am going to say this, that there is a lot of invective in the American discussion right now. The cultural wars are as divisive as they have ever been, I think, in the last 50, maybe even 100 years.
I'd contest that, but...
Well, what other time
since I have been in politics, I have heard that same line. I've never seen things so divisive. Look, we have two parties.
Yeah.
And we argue.
How does, though, the invective discussion make for a better country? I mean, when you have these divisions...
Well, free speech makes for a better country. And, you can argue the way you want to, and David Frum can argue the way he wants to. I happen to think the only way you produce intellectual breakthroughs is by some sort of intellectual trauma. and I have a lot of converts to prove it. But whether or not my method is more successful than being deadly dull all the time and never using satire, you know, I have to read my columns over and over again before they go in. I have to read my books over and over again. I'm going to write in a way that amuses me and my friends.
And nobody would disagree with that, that at least the discussion has to be entertaining enough that it includes people in it. I buy that.
Yes, but
what I
little
wonder about, though,
arms here in Canada want to go around and say, no, 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 you can't say that, although I don't know what I can't say exactly. I never got my list of words and phrases that are banned in Canada.
Well, you've used most of them, not here, but certainly in the United States. Words that perhaps Canadians would find offensive. But listen, I mean, isn't the point of politics, though, for competing ideologies to come together, try and establish a dominance over the other, but in the process seek common ground, because that's the only thing that you can possibly do, unless you simply want to invoke your will, as you're charging the Democrats have done in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I would say there are different ways of defining what the purpose of a government is, and in a democracy and a republic, I would say it's a lot closer to responding to what the voters want, and we sure didn't get that on Sunday night.
Okay, so if then, as you have said many, many times, that the real problem with American politics is liberals, it's not people like you, what is the biggest liberal lie in the United States?
At the moment, I mean, I suppose I could come up with a lot, but since this is the hot topic now, the idea that we can cover 46 million uninsured and cut the deficit. Come on. Come on, nobody is believing that, not even the people who are saying that. And I've just invented a chocolate cake, and it's all you can eat, and you will lose weight.
But that was the Congressional Budget Office that said that this health care reform would result in a savings.
The Congressional Budget Office has to take whatever assumptions the party in power gives it. So the Democrats can say, okay, assume we invent a car that will get 1 million miles per gallon and run only on grass. And the Congressional Budget Office will have to take that and say, oh, yeah, that would save a lot of money. And not only that, and this also goes back to your earlier question about whether there's any possibility of this monstrosity being repealed. In order to get the Congressional Budget Office, among the many crazy tricks and assumptions the Democrats gave the CBO, is that for the first 10 years, and that's all the CBO was analyzing, all the health care bill does for the first 10 years, first 4 years, all they do is collect taxes. They don't start paying out these benefits that we so desperately need for another 4 years. Well, okay, then what do you do in the second decade? How does it balance out then, CBO? But, you know, there aren't going to be that many benefits being paid. And I would also say, I mean, one sort of remarkable thing happened in the middle of this healthcare debate. What generally happens, probably in all countries, I know in America, is you get people on the welfare rolls, whether it's a government pension or a school teacher's salary, or it's literally welfare or Medicare and Medicaid, and you can never roll it back because those people are going to vote only on their government benefit. That's what they're going to come in and vote for. I want more from the government. This time, Senator Ben Nilsen got the infamous now Cornhusker kickback for his state, Nebraska, where all of their Medicaid bills would be paid for the next 10 years. He couldn't walk into a pizza restaurant after voting for that without getting booed in his own state. The American people are so fed up with government spending, so fed up with big government and the lies about how we're going to cover 46 million people and it's our chocolate cake, all you can eat, that they're not accepting it anymore. They're booing him.
We're almost out of time. Tell me, what is the biggest lie about Ann Coulter?
Well, I can't say I read a lot of my press. I just go out and do what I do.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, I can't say that liberals in Canada are wrong to ban MPs from going to my speech or standing up and denouncing me and trying to ban the entire speech, because I am dangerous.
Ann Coulter, thank you very much for being here. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, me too.
One way or another, it's always interesting talking to you. We're going to take a short break here on Power Play. We're going to be back with a panel of MPs to talk about Ann Coulter and other things right after this tape.
This is CTV News Channel.